Welcome to Real Estate Radio, hosted by the real estate therapist, Larry Shakman, a top-producing real estate broker, author, CEO, and founder of TrustedAgentUSA.com, the ultimate real estate matchmaker, connecting you with top-performing agents for 2% commission. Each week, we bring you exclusive interviews with industry experts, covering everything from staging to negotiation strategies to home inspection issues and everything in between. Whether you're selling your home, a first-time home buyer, or a seasoned investor, we've got you covered. Let's make your real estate dreams a reality in this fast-moving and ever-changing real estate market. This program is funded in whole or in part by Trusted Agent USA, Illinois license number 475-145-795. Now, here's Larry.
All right, everybody, here we are again. It is December 2nd, 2023. I can't even believe I'm saying that. It's already the end of the year. So thanks for joining us today. We are, of course, you're watching the Real Estate Radio Show podcast. We have a great show set up today. Remember, on TikTok, if you're interested in seeing the entire broadcast, go to Facebook at Launch My Listing or go to YouTube at Larry Shakman. You can also watch us on LinkedIn at Larry Shakman as well. So I hope everybody is set up for a great weekend. And we got some great guests today. Of course, we're going to be joined by Kramer, the mortgage guru, the man that's going to solve all your problems when it comes to mortgages. And Patrick Loftus is going to be joining us as well with Loftus Law to impart all of his legal wisdom on us, because God knows we need it right now in the real estate industry. So before I go any further, I just want to thank all of our sponsors. And real quickly, I want to first thank TrustedAgentUSA.com. Trusted Agent USA, what we do is we meld what consumers are looking for, top-notch, top-producing, top-performing agents that are going to be there with you throughout the entire transaction for a reasonable commission. Now, we've heard a lot about that lately. That's what we do. We match buyers, sellers, and investors with top-performing, top-producing agents in their area. And check it out, TrustedAgentUSA.com. I want to also thank a couple of our other partners real quickly. Kramer, of course, who's going to be coming on here shortly. He is the branch manager at Benchmark Mortgage in Oakbrook. Dylan works with people around the country, so he's going to have a lot to say today. We also want to thank, of course, At Home Title Services. I myself am a title agent as well. If you're interested in being a title agent and you're a real estate broker, you can go to At Home Title Services.com. Sign up for their next virtual event, December 13th. Okay, with all of that done and said, let's bring on first Dylan Kramer. Dylan, welcome.
Hey, Larry, how are you today?
Wearing that Iowa.
I'm representing, baby. I got my oldest daughter is a senior at Iowa, and although they have a bleak on paper outlook for the game against Michigan today, we're optimistic here at the Kramer house that the Hawkeyes are going to get it done.
All right, I'll get in line behind that. We're also going to bring on Patrick Loftus. Patrick, what's up?
Wish I had worn some of my Illini gear or perhaps even some LSU gear just to balance that out. Because
I mean, I could have put my COD hat on, but I'm not going there. It's just what's
nice.
I mean, I've seen you in your COD full tracky, the full tracksuit, 3 stripes,
Oh man,
looks good on you.
I do my best to pull it off. I really do. I really do. How you guys doing this morning?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I hear you. I was thinking today as I was getting ready, it's 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. It's like there's 4 squirrels watching us right now. That's okay though. Hey, we got a lot.
My cat's watching, so we got that.
Bring your cat on screen. What's your cat's name?
This is. Can you see her? That's Naya. She could not care less about what I've got going on.
Absolutely, completely uninterested. Yes,
As usual.
I understand totally. That's how cats are. We're their servants.
Yeah, that's we're not her owner. It's quite the opposite.
So we got a lot to talk about today. I know, Dylan, you want to kind of drill down some numbers when it comes to purchasing a home, and how people can do that, why it makes sense, why as you like to say, why the maths, right?
Exactly right, my friend.
So we'll check that out. And Patrick, we're going to, I saw a reel that you did the other day about, and you saw my comments, I'm sure, but I saw with somebody on there. I was being nice though. But, this reel where, everybody's thinking, including myself, how we're going to see all these appeals for 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 years. But there was something very interesting you brought up that we'll talk about in a little bit regarding that whole appeal process and what it takes to appeal a $1.8 billion case. It's not as easy as it seems. You're not just like turning in a piece of paper and saying, hey, we appeal this BS decision. And, that's not it, right?
If only it were so simple.
Yeah. Well, the law is simple. It's always a good experience going to court. Always.
I love it. I love it. That's why I always tell my clients, don't you love being in court? Isn't it the most fun thing ever? Let's sue everybody.
Let's just go out and sue everyone. By the way, Dylan, how did Iowa do last week? You were there last week, right?
I was there a couple of weeks ago, actually. So I was there. I was there for the Rutgers game, and then I went to the Wrigley Field game as well. But no, they did okay the last few weeks. So they've been grinding out wins against teams by scoring at least one touchdown a game, whether they need to or not.
Awesome. Yeah, well, they're kind of like the Bulls. The Bulls are grinding out like one victory every 17 games. So
I was 10-2. Let's not,
I was 10-2. Really?
I was
I didn't know
10-2. Absolutely.
All right. Well, you can't.
I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
You can't complain about that. Why, Illinois?
They're the worst 10-2 team you've ever laid eyes on, but they are 10-2.
Just the Illinois. Just let's not go there. I'm going to derail the whole thing and just start on a rant, and I don't want to do that.
Let's talk about one of your rugby teams.
Well, I'm more of a soccer guy. Rugby's for the fancy.
Oh yeah, you're a soccer guy. That's right.
I'm a gritty working class lawyer. No, it doesn't work. Never mind.
Yeah. Hey, I want to go over a few things real quick because once again, this week we have like some crazy stats that just kind of juxtapose each other, and they don't make sense when you first look at it. So interest rates, awesome. They went down again to about 7.22%, right, Dylan?
Yep.
Okay.
The trend is our friend.
The trend is our friend. It's going down a little bit. I'm looking good right now. I'm not going to short any of my ideas or anything. I'm not going to go there. I'm not even going to say another word about it. But the bottom line is we're at 7.22 right now. A year ago today, do you know what we averaged for a 30-year fixed mortgage?
6.8, I would bet.
You're right about there. 6.5, 6.49%. So we are slowly but surely, and I don't know surely, but we're slowly but surely getting to that. I know it's bad. We're getting to, I got more, believe me. You have no idea.
The puns are the host's prerogative.
We're slowly but surely getting down. And like I said, with everything going on geopolitically, like I've said in the past, like one thing can just take a really bad turn and turn everything upside down. But I like the trend I'm seeing there, right?
I don't disagree. I mean, certainly, look, here's the thing I worry about. I worry that we wake up and we have 6.5 or 6 in a month, right? And that's kind of, you're like, wow, well, lower rates would be better. But again, that's going to create this stampede effect where everybody jumps back in the market.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, we can't turn around and get the clients taken care of because there's 10 bidders for every house.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's going to happen. Rates keep going down. Buyers, all that pent up demand, they're going to come back on the market. We're already seeing more listings come on the market right now. That's going to expand and magnify after the first of the year.
Yeah, I would think so.
So,
Dylan, I'm glad you said that. Sorry,
yeah.
I just want to jump in. I think
Yeah.
it's worth highlighting, just as detrimental to a lot of stuff, that rising interest rates as quickly as they rose, it broke a lot of things, like three fairly large banks, for example. If we tumble just as fast, that's going to break stuff as well. And just like all of us, we were in the middle of the frenzy that ended up being 2021, COVID time. Dylan, you said it. There just wasn't enough resources available to service everyone the way that they should have been, and things didn't go as smoothly. I still need about a month off with no devices to recover from what that was like.
Yeah.
We don't want that. I mean, yeah, we want people to be able to buy houses and be able to afford them, but what we don't want is the whole thing to break again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that some of the unforeseen stuff, like you mentioned, the banks, I think that if we woke up December 15th and we had 6%, and I know a lot of people don't want to feel sorry for the banks or mortgage lenders. Everybody who bought a house in the last 6 months will also attempt to refinance into an underwriting pool and a loan operations pool of people that has shrunk by 70%.
Yeah.
You couldn't redo all the loans from the last 3 years in 45 days. There's no capacity. Yeah. Add to that, all those loans have early payoff buyout clauses, right? So if you close today or you close in November and you refinance before, next May, and every date has a little bit of a skewer, but roughly next 6 months, the originating lender has to pay the money back from the first loan that they got paid for it, which they use to make their payroll and all that others. It can absolutely hammer large mortgage banks, well, any mortgage bank, but if certainly publicly traded companies will hammer their earnings, and that's a whole. But it also hammers their warehouse lines and their cost of doing business, and so the whole thing can really just get gummed up in a hurry.
Yeah, well, I'll be better off if this thing is more, gradual.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like no matter what happens, there's challenges, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. There's always going to be those challenges there. And you know what? I'm looking for some good problems to deal with. So I'm all about that.
Jobs, right?
That's right. So there's two stats in particular that, they don't kind of make sense, or maybe they do, and I just don't understand them. That's entirely possible. So consumer confidence in November is up. Okay. Consumer confidence is up for the first time in 3 months, which is a good thing, right? However, along with that, about 2/3 of consumers out there think we're headed for a recession in 2024. So their confidence is up, but they think in the back of their mind, they're still thinking we're headed for a recession in 2024. Hello?
Yeah, you know what? I think those are actually more complementary than you think, Larry. I think that sometimes we've talked about expectations, right? And we talked about them relative to inflation last week, where we're in this situation where, if you get to a point where you expect 5 or 6 or 7% inflation, you raise prices preemptively, et cetera, et cetera. If you have the expectation there's a recession coming, I think it helps the economy in the grand scheme of things, because you're nervously cautious with your personal finances.
Yeah.
So you can be confident in your own circumstances and move forward individually with confidence, but you're also cautious so you don't do dumb things like lease a G-Wagon.
Yeah.
Other dumb stuff.
What a great point, Dylan. That is so spot on.
You're not worried because you're like, well, I could go to dinner today, or I could spend an extra $100 at the grocery store, or whatever you do, or buy tickets to the Iowa game or the Bulls game or whatever this month, but you don't make those bigger decisions. It can be kind of dumb.
Yeah. What a great point, and clearly why people can tell you got like a 27 on your ACT and I got an 18 because I'm making these points and you're clearing them out. But no, that is an awesome point. So in a more macro way, people are a little on edge, but in a micro way, they're feeling more confident.
You know what? It's almost like I'm good, but I don't want you to screw things up, so I'm not going to step out too far.
I'm not going to tell you how good I am.
Right. Exactly.
Well, cars, speaking of G-Wagons, car prices, at least used car prices are going through the floor at the moment. And I wonder if, after seeing how lame Black Friday was in terms of sales, how confident consumers are going to be the next go around.
It's a great question. And I actually have a guy, and it reminds me to make a call to him, who runs a dealership group here in the Chicago area. And he's, when people call me out of my database, they're like, hey, I send them to him. So he and I have a long standing relationship. I'm due kind of a check the market call with him. So I will have that call this week. And, we can also discuss it a little bit next week, Larry, when we get to that. Because
awesome.
I think his feedback on what he's seeing with consumers would be valuable.
So used car are going down because they were like going through the roof, right?
Yeah.
And now they're going down. Why is that? I mean, what do you think? What's the reason for that?
Patrick, go ahead.
Why is that? I mean, what goes up must come down, right? I mean, the prices people were paying, certainly during COVID, okay, so what's underlying all of that? What I suspect is that, all of the cash that got pumped into the economy by the Fed via low interest rates, that was being reflected in a lot of ways by the number of people buying and selling homes, but also by people saying, hey, I've got a little bit extra money in my pocket and I've always wanted to own X car or Y car. And it didn't necessarily matter to them so much what the price was. And it just, supply and demand. If there's that many people who want to go buy a car, the supply of cars is fairly static, right? And, you add into that the problems with the supply chain, just general, the ability to manufacture these cars was hindered by COVID in general. The factories certainly had to shut down for some period of time. People who work in the factories were having to take time off for getting COVID. All kinds of factors play into these prices shooting up. And part of the problem now is that with prices coming down, what dealers paid for trade-ins, for example, they can't get that. You know how a dealer will absolutely lowball you on a trade-in and you just sort of go, well, it's better than having to sell this thing myself. Well, those lowball amounts they paid are actually turning out to be above market at this point. So you've got a lot of all of the things that went in to heat up that market. Those heating sources have largely turned off, and that market is having a massive correction. Just like in our market, when you have a boom time, you bet for every $100 you make, you better be stashing about 20 because there's going to be a bust.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I would also remind us, or remind anybody listening, don't forget the impact of interest rates on this too. Patrick's right about all of that, but the other thing is that you could go out during COVID in the same way you could buy a house at 2 3/4, and today that payment's $1,500 more a month at 7 1/4. On a $400,000 house. On a $50,000 car, you could borrow at 1.9 or 0% financing in some cases and pay $500 a month on a $40,000 car, and that payment's now $850. And so it's far less interesting or attractive to buy a car. And used cars rates followed the same, right? There are used car rates for fairly average consumers, 680 credit scores, not 620, not 580. 8, 9, 10%. It's out there. So
and so many of those people that bought those cars are underwater on their cars, so they're stuck with those cars. There is no
for sure.
Well, hey, let me just downsize into a smaller car or whatever. No, when you're 30 grand upside down on your Ford Bronco, you're stuck.
Hey,
man.
Take it easy with the Ford Bronco.
You had to bring up the Bronco, right?
No, I'm fine with the Bronco. It's good.
Hey, if you want one now, there are loads of them sitting on
Yeah.
car lots, so go grab one.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I keep an eye on the Bronco market just because I have one. And they, the dealers are attempting to hold on to MSRP. They're like, we're not charging over sticker anymore. That's fantastic. Good for you.
Hey, so real quick, before we get too deep into the car market, but what Patrick, what you just mentioned about, you're underwater on your cars now. It's the same thing when you buy a house, and what me and Dylan have talked about, and probably you've been on the show before when we've talked about it, and that is you cannot renegotiate your purchase price. You can refinance. So you got to be careful, because when these interest rates go down, like we were just talking, you're going to see an onslaught of buyers come out of hibernation, and you're going to see all these multiple offers again. One last thing I want to hit on stats that were kind of weird when I looked at it. So, we talked about consumer confidence going up a little bit, but at the same time, people are a little nervous about a recession possibly coming in 2024. And Dylan, I think you just sussed that out perfectly. But in addition to that, so while people are kind of worried about a recession coming possibly, consumer spending went up 3.5%. So I'm like, all right, we're nuts. That's all. We're just crazy. But I think that goes to what you said too, that, they may be spending.
Everybody's kind of individually confident, but worried about the other guy.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I'm just living my life. I got to buy what I got to buy. My wife wants some nice stuff. She's going to get some nice stuff, and I'll figure out how to pay for it later.
And that's a fact. I mean, life drives everything: real estate, buying cars, feeding your cat, what you feed your cat. The
cat gets what she gets. There is no compromise with that. She doesn't know any of the negotiation rules. She hasn't read this book. Okay, great book, by the way. If you haven't read it, go get it and read it, because you'll become a better negotiator for it. But
somebody was commenting that, what we're talking about in terms of how life moves things, it happens. It's not about interest rates all the time. It's not about, it's about life and what's going on in your life and what you have to do, and, just your whole personal, what's happening out there. Right. So, hey, Jerome Powell, our friend, Jerome Powell, Dylan.
Yep.
Patrick. He started pushing back a little bit, because the stock market, I think they're also out of their mind. They're over 36,000 again, and they're all hyped up because they're thinking Fed's about to drop interest rates again and start dropping interest rates again. And Jerome is like, hey, Jerry calling. No, don't get excited about rates dropping all of a sudden, because it's not happening, and they could go up still.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Don't worry. They're just going to keep buying back their own stock to prop up the stock price. So, keep piling money into the stock market, because, old boy over at the country club is going to, shove some more of the company's God, it sounds like we should be on our regular radio station. Old boy at the country club is going to keep piling in the company profits, not to, take care of the employees. He's going to take care of them stockholders, which he is absolutely one of them. Go buy back that stock, prop up that stock price, and go buy a yacht.
You know what? 53% of current inflation is as a result of corporate profits, because they keep raising their prices. I just got a note from Zoom. So I have like a pro membership thing, subscription to Zoom, so you could have 8,000 people on at one time, which I do all the time. And, they sent me this thing, how it's going up $10 a month, which, okay, it's like 8%, not a big deal. And they actually have improved a few things, but it's like companies are going to continue raising their prices until you stop buying their overpriced crap. It's as simple as that. When you stop buying that thing that you used to get for this price and now you're buying at this price, you will see prices come down. Until then, until that organically happens, they're going to keep raising prices or keep them right where they are. Am I right?
Well, you are. I mean, look, to me, so if I'm on the other side of that, let's say if I put myself in the company's shoes, I go, well, why not? And the answer to that question is that one of two things is going to happen. Either, like you said, people are going to stop buying, or a competitor is going to come in and they're going to sell a similar product at what it actually should cost, and you're done. So, you've got to be measured about that. Don't just go nuts and just jack the price up because everyone needs my product. Trust me,
Right.
there's someone out there who's hungrier and more clever who's going to come in and go grab that market.
Exactly. And by the way, I want to let everybody know, I did not just put Dylan in a timeout. I did not do that. I think Dylan lost connectivity. He'll be back on, I'm sure, in a minute. Until he comes back on, I want to dive right into that reel that I saw of yours on TikTok. And by the way, before we get into that, I just want to real quickly say that Patrick has this other site, Let Me Help You Fly. And you got to check it out, because if you want cheap flights, Patrick is the man. Let Me Help You Fly. Not fly with me, not I'm flying with you, not Let Me Help You Fly on TikTok. And you got to go check it out and get a cheap flight somewhere. Get out of Chicago now.
Yeah,
Now.
I'll tell you what, because for so long I was not the rich lawyer that everyone envisions when they think about lawyer, but I still wanted the lifestyle that rich lawyers are afforded. I had to figure out how to do that, and so one thing, if you want to travel, there's I can get well. How philosophical do I want to get? There's a thing in just in right sales in general, is that there's all kinds of consumers and not all of them are willing to pay an equal price. So coupons exist because you want to sell your deodorant at full price, but you also want to sell your deodorant to the people that don't want to pay the full price. And why does TJ Maxx is this and this, that, and the other thing? Okay, so why did I go off on that tangent when we talk about airfare? It's because not everyone is willing to pay $8, $9, $1,000, $1,200 to go to a particular place, but airlines want to fill up their planes. They don't care that one person is sitting next to another person and person A paid $500 more than person B. They care that they fill the plane up. The worst thing you can do when you're trying to sell something is to end up with too much of it. Okay, it means the opposite, to end up with not enough of it. It means you left money on the table. That's why they're always throwing products away at the end of the day if they did it right. Why is that beneficial? It's beneficial because people like me who can find the best prices are going to go and pay the best prices. Whereas someone who's just going on, one of the ones that advertise, the websites that advertise, they're going to go and they're going to pay whatever comes up on their search. They're not going to know what else is available because it's not going to be shown to them. So bottom line, go to Google Flights if you're trying to buy a plane ticket, have flexible dates in mind, and you will probably not even need to follow me, but follow me anyway. Let me help you find
follow him. Absolutely. He has some great stories and great information. I mean, amazing information.
I do my best.
Yeah, absolutely. So Let Me Help You Fly on TikTok. I think Dylan just came back. He's going to have a great excuse, I know, but let's just see what it is.
Good times.
All right. So what's your excuse?
Dude, the power just flipped out at my house. Like,
Did it really?
Yeah, it just surged. All the lights surged, and then everything rebooted. So here I am. I got nothing.
There's too much energy coming out of this podcast right now. It is literally
nice
over. Yeah. So we were just getting into something with Patrick about he did this reel on TikTok, right?
Okay.
And he was well, Patrick, go. I'm going to let you take it.
Yeah. So there's something that I hate to say the words like, "Oh, no one's talking about this," because usually that's not the case. And as a matter of fact, I don't want to say inspiration. This was something that I was thinking about as people were kind of, just talking very casually about, like, oh, well, they're going to appeal it, and they're going to tie this thing up forever, and blah blah blah. Well, yes, I think to a certain extent that's true, but there's going to be some limitations on how much they can tie this thing up in appeals, and the fact that there is two, three, four, a number of uh, cases coming down the pipe that if the result keeps going against realtors is going to make it more and more difficult. And it's not just that attorneys who file appeals and pursue them are expensive, is that when you and this is particular to when there's a money judgment entered. So in this case, they did the whole case. They went in front of a jury. They made their case, and the jury goes 1.8 billion. Thank you. See you later.
2 hours done.
So yeah, that's how bad the National Association of Realtors did.
They are so horrible.
I'm telling you, whatever they paid them, they should have paid me. I'd have made way better arguments.
Not to sidetrack, but do we really think? I mean, that the case was so strong, or do we think that the NAR really just went in there like we always do this? Here's our staff lawyers, and they came in with guys who are like really good at this class action stuff.
Yes,
and boom, they got punched in the face. And
they got.
What do you mean we lost? And now they're reeling.
The atmospheric levels of arrogance up there on Michigan Avenue is astounding. What they don't know is what they don't know. They just assume we've been doing this for 40 years plus. Yeah, you listen, I get all kinds of, Larry, you're out there fighting the good fight for, against all of just the haters in my
Everyone
TikTok
loves
comments. Me. I'll tell you what, it's a funny thing. Now, before I get off on a tangent on that, let me finish. Let me just deliver on my thought, because people are tons of people on the edge of their seat. So when you file an appeal after a money judgment has been entered against you, as part of that filing, you have to file what's called an appellate bond. What is an appellate bond? An appellate bond is basically you saying to the court, I'm good for it. If I lose this appeal, I either can pay it myself, or this bond guarantees it if I decide to, skip town and move the NRA to NRA. We should move them there too. The NAR.
Put the NAR and the NRA.
Those are three letters as initials, though, isn't it?
Yeah, put them on a boat and just shove them off and be like, you're not welcome here or anywhere for that matter. But in any event, they've got so this appellate bond. The appellate bond companies are happy to issue you one. The cost of an appellate bond is $1.8 billion for a $1.8 billion appellate bond, plus anywhere between about 0.5% to 4%. Now, there's exceptions. There's always exceptions to everything. That's where lawyers live, in the exceptions, right? That's why there's so many of us. That's why there's so many exceptions, right? It may not quite cost them $1.8 billion, but the only reason it might not cost them $1.8 billion, they might pledge some actual hard assets as collateral if they've got that nice building that's undergoing renovation up on Michigan Avenue, if they've got liquid assets to pledge, if they've got other real or assets to pledge, that could help offset an actual cash.
It's like your mom putting up her house for collateral when you have a DUI. They'll put up their house.
More or less. Yeah, I would say more like when you go and rob a 7-Eleven.
That reference came out of the middle of nowhere.
Not really. We'll get into it later.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe we won't. Maybe we won't. It might not be. Let's not. So Larry. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I would change around some of the facts of that.
I get it.
But I think the general logic of it tracks. So we've got $1.8 billion. But what if the judge triples this $1.8 billion? All right, times 3. We've got
Teresa,
right over here, 2 blocks away, at the Dirksen building. We've got another class action case that's going to trial in January next month. Oh boy. So that one's much bigger. We've got the one that the first plaintiff's attorneys filed the day that the $1.8 billion was entered. We've got another one, and there's going to be many.
You predicted this. You said, "Hey, I know my brethren. I know what's going to happen here."
Right.
And I'm not that smart. It's not that I'm really smart. I am.
No,
I am.
you're extremely
But that
smart.
was the easiest prediction to make. Just as easy it is to predict that the Bulls are going to lose their next game, easy to predict that lawyers are going to be filing more lawsuits. You know.
Yeah. Well, listen, and realtors are going to sell more houses. Here's what I think about that whole thing, this whole idea of this lawsuit. And you know how much I love plaintiffs' attorneys for class action lawsuits. Honestly, it's that old joke, what's black and brown and looks great on an attorney, a Doberman, that they would be it. So that's almost my last joke of the day, but here's what I think is going to happen. I think for consumers to stop using realtors to help them buy and sell homes, that is an organic happening. That's not going to happen because an attorney brings a class action lawsuit. It's going to change some things. You know, you're now going to have a buyer's agreement for sure that says, hey, you have to cover me up to a minimum of 2% or a minimum of 2.5%.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is. And then you're going to simply add that into the cost of their home, and they're going to finance it like they do anyway.
You know, that's one solution. I mean, here's some other stuff that I've been learning since we last talked. So part of the Remax and was it Anywhere? I always start to get confused. Remax and Anywhere settled. We thought they settled for, oh my gosh, how much? Well, it turns out they got a discount. Part of that settlement, it wasn't just the money. It wasn't just money. It wasn't just, all right, you pay me and I stop suing you. It was also changing the way they train agents, changing the requirements. Larry, I'm sure you at one point you worked for just like one of these name brand real estate brokerages.
I started with Coldwell Banker.
Right. So if you went to your managing broker at Coldwell Banker and you said, look, my best friend is selling their home, I want to discount them, I'm going to take 0.5. What would your managing broker have said? Probably something.
She was 80, and I would probably had to resuscitate her in order to have that conversation. But
you said we were done with the jokes.
No, we're not. Yeah, of course. You know what she would have said. She would have said, you can do that, just not here.
Right. Either not happening, or sure, if you make up the difference yourself, or something along those lines. Basically, even if you wanted to, even if you thought that your product, should cost less to the consumer, your managing broker wouldn't let that happen. This is what, and these are some things I think that are underlying that don't necessarily enter the public discourse about it. Those kinds of practices, that's really what is the biggest thing that the general public just goes, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
You know what? I agree with that. I mean, I think everybody, listen, this is a contract that you're entering into, like any other contract. Everything is negotiable. And I think that's the way it should be. You can go to a seller and say, hey, listen, so our full commission is 6%, but we suggest that 3% of that is a co-op commission to the buyer's agent in order to motivate them to bring their buyers to the table that they may have been working with for the last 6 months. So I think you're absolutely right that the consumer, and I know I do this, I'm sure you two do as well, comes back and says, I'd love to work with you. I really would. I think you could really help me sell my home, but I'm not doing it for more than 4.75%. I don't care how you split it up or what you do with it, but it's always been that way. It's always been negotiable.
Except that your managing broker won't let you negotiate. And
well, so that's the problem.
Just to finish the thought there, those two brokerages agreed to stop doing that as part of that settlement. So they're no longer going to be, hamstringing their agents into not compromising with clients, and they're no longer going to be in the training materials advising their brokers that 6% is it, and if you want a discount, go to the brokerage. So those are some practices so now that they've agreed that they're not going to do this anymore, I think that's a big deal. I think that's a really big deal.
Yeah.
But to your point, and I wanted, sorry, I know I talk a lot. To your point is, if you want to get rid of realtors, just stop hiring them. I saw a really funny TikTok, and it was, okay, fine. Have you ever bought or sold something on Facebook Marketplace? Because that's essentially what you're suggesting is that we take MLS, we get rid of that, and we just turn home buying and selling into Facebook Marketplace. Just if you've ever seen any of the Facebook Marketplace parodies, you know how awful that's going to be. That'll last about 3 seconds, and we'll go back to hiring realtors.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, I sold an old mountain bike that I had in my garage when I bought a new bicycle. And the funny thing is that I was very well. Let me make the point I wanted to make. It took about 4 minutes. I put the bike on for $350, and it took 4 minutes before somebody offered me $200. Somebody offered me $100, but they could pick it up this day, like immediately. Oh, that's got no value whatsoever. I'll come over right now. And I was inundated in the first hour with a bunch of people trying to turn, and without even noting, asking details, trying to find out what the story is. Just like, hey, will you do it cheaper? And that's just the immediate knee-jerk reaction. That's to your point is exactly what will happen.
Yeah. And then there's gonna be weird people showing up at your house that you don't know who they are. They've not been vetted by anyone. You don't know if they can't even afford it, or if they're just coming in to look at your stuff to case it to burglarize you later. I mean, there's just so many reasons why
both
that's
of
a
those
terrible
things,
idea.
exactly what you guys just said is exactly my point. Consumers don't want to deal with all that. If they wanted to, they would have stopped using us a long time ago, and they still can. I have never put a gun to anybody's head and said, you have to list your house with me.
Larry, to your point, remember right before the crash in 07, 08, in like 04, 05, 06, there was a lot of traction to be had in the market to use the internet to empower the for sale by owner market, because we had an abundance of supply, but it was also rising, right? So people were much more willing to engage selling by owner than they might be today, given some of the limitations that we've talked about, for like a window of 3 years. And they were like, oh, for sale by owners are spiking. They might have spiked 50% from 1 to 1.5% of the market. They're like, oh, it's all the rage. No, it's not. It's not. You have to do all this work yourself.
And they find that out quickly. And that's when they start calling people like me and others, because they don't want to deal with all of it. There's a lot of minutia involved in a real estate transaction. That's why, listen, I stay in my lane. I called Dylan yesterday about a listing I'm putting on the market, and, there's a renter in there for 2 years at $1,250 a month. And, we can only sell it to an investor. So there's some things so I stay in my lane. When I have questions, I need legal advice on something, I call Patrick. I don't call, I don't just wing it. And listen, if you think you're a consumer and you're not going to use a real estate agent, and you're going to call Patrick up, or you're going to call Dylan up, and everyone's going to work for free because that's what this idiot class action plaintiff's law attorney thinks we should all do. I'm joking. Of course, he doesn't think that. But I do agree with you on the, not to get off track, I do agree with you on the negotiating thing. There was actually, you made a point about how one large brokerage has written in their contract 6%. That's insane.
I mean,
that's the stupid.
It's the kind of thing that loses you a $1.8 billion class action lawsuit is what it is.
I get that. The funny thing is, look, there's so many, even the people who have risen from a sales and marketing standpoint to positions of authority in the mortgage and real estate business and own or operate big companies, they've read Never Split the Difference too. So they're like, oh, we'll just put this in the contract and they'll be less likely to try to negotiate because it's in writing, right? And you just stumble with reasonable and good intentions, right? Like we're trying to maximize our profit per transaction. That's not necessarily a negative, but the way it ends up getting executed is what they hang the lawsuit on and is a negative.
And perception is
what they
reality.
would tell you, what they would tell you is that they need to provide a backstop against the race to the bottom, because I think any new agent, as soon as they get their license and they're so excited, they're going, I'm going to conquer this business. I know all the things that realtors aren't doing that they should do, and then they get out there and they're getting their butts handed to them by all the top producers who have excellent sales funnels and know how to close in a listing appointment, and you don't know that until you learn it on the main streets. So what's a new agent to do when they don't really know how else to differentiate themselves, because they're walking in to listing appointments that they don't know how to do. They go, well, if I can offer a lower price, right? So, fair enough. Every new agent out there is going to be offering 1% just to get some heat, just to get things going.
Yeah.
And that's going to throw the market into a tizzy. Now, maybe they should just let that happen. Maybe that should just be allowed to happen. Allow consumers who are only shopping on price to be able to hire the younger agent that's willing to sell their service at the lower price. Maybe
And
let
they
that
can.
happen.
They can.
They can now.
And
Absolutely.
if we fix the inventory problem, maybe it's not a bad idea to have younger agents who work with first-time buyers and need a minimum level of services or to work at that lower price, and then have more experienced agents, Larry, Lofito in the luxury market, right? Where you're like, look, you can't bring the same bundle of services it takes to just buy a condo in Lincoln Park to this property you guys sold in Wheaton. Like, we need staging. We need understanding of where the email list is for the people who have the capacity to afford a couple of $1 million property, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And so now you got to pay 5 or 4, 2.5 on your side and 2.5 offer to the other. Maybe that a la carte sort of thing has, you know what, Patrick, I kind of like your idea. Like, hey, you guys figure this out. Just don't do this, this, and this. Let me
tell you, those people,
let the creativity of the people in the marketplace come to bear.
Listen, those people negotiate too. Don't kid yourself.
Well, I get it.
They're negotiating their commissions. They're not just dropping at 6%. But
That's true.
There's a lot more services that go into selling a $3, $4, and $5 million home. There's just a lot more.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
We can kind of then start to have menu of services for what you want, and then you can get more into an idea. Look, I can go get a steak at Applebee's. That doesn't make it a great idea relative to going to Gibson, but I know I'm getting an $18 steak at Applebee's, not an $80 steak, right?
Yeah.
It will be beef.
So-
That's as much as you can be guaranteed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Larry, I wonder if there's a business that one of us is fairly is fairly into, that has unbundled all of the services that used to come with the full price, like, I don't know, a checked bag or a meal on board, or a more leg room, or is there. So I wonder if there's a play to be made here, as far as, okay, why don't I offer, because there's going to be people that want, like I said earlier, there's going to be people that are going to want to get into things at different price points, but they all want to buy you. They all want to buy you, but they all want to pay different prices. So you go, all right, fine. I offer the basic economy, which is, X, Y, and Z. I offer economy plus, which is X, Y, Z, A, and B. I offer business class, first class, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's different ways to kind of popcorn price that, which is just the idea that you offer small, medium, and large. The large is only slightly more expensive, but it's like way bigger than the medium, so everyone picks large. But there's, I think that, well, okay. I think that's one way things might play out. My hope, my overly optimistic hope is that at the end of the day, because it's not so easy to kind of eke an existence by, you know, doing 7 transactions a year, and you're not gaining much experience and you're not doing much for your clients, and you're contributing to the bad reputation of real estate brokers. I would love to see those people kind of fade away and go do something more useful. And I like to see people like Larry and others who've been doing it a long time, or maybe haven't been doing it a long time, but want to put forth the full effort to become fully professional and actually demonstrate their worth out there, so that people don't think about filing these lawsuits. People don't
Yeah.
think of realtors as, gee, those guys are, snakes or they're crooks. If there were only the best and most professional real estate brokers doing this business, y'all would be exalted instead of being vilified.
Yeah, no, and
In
I
my opinion.
totally agree with that. And you know what? I think as a result of all of this that's going on right now, there's going to be shifts in the business and things are going to
Shifts. You
pop
said
up.
shifts.
What's that?
You said shifts.
Shifts,
Yeah.
shifts. There's going to be,
That on the radio, it's fine.
yeah, never mind. There's going to be, it takes me a little while. There's
I'm
going
a
to be
shift.
things that pop up and different, like I have a company, Trusted Agent USA, trustedagentUSA.com. We're a full service agent, right? I'm not, and just to kind of bring this to a head here. So we offer full service, full marketing, full, we're going to get you full price, but we also offer a reasonable commission and we rebate back to the buyer up to 0.5% of what they purchased that home for. So to put towards their closing costs. So if they're buying a $400,000 home, they're going to get $2,000 back to pay Patrick, to pay for a survey, to pay for, whatever, but to pay for their closing costs and prepaid. So I think there's going to be things like that pop up. Like what we do is kind of like Redfin without the brick and mortar office. So I think that's going to kind of what I meant by that shift in the market. Yeah.
I got in your head, Larry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that leads me to the question of what happens to Redfin's business model specifically, right? Like they rely on the buyer side commission being in the contract so that they can largely just aggregate leads, send them to underskilled agents or people who don't want to work on the generating your own business portion of the business and just want to do the transaction. But they're relying on that buyer side commission to fund their business.
But that's, and that's the other thing about Redfin, and I'm not knocking anybody, okay? But they're paying agents $15 an hour or whatever it is to do a job that another agent, their whole thing is if they don't help somebody in a professional manner buy or sell a home, they don't make any money. So there's a whole different type of motivation and amount of effort someone may put into a job if they're just doing it for the $18 an hour.
I get that. And you're 100% right. So when you have a business like that, like globally under the umbrella of Redfin at the corporate level, they have to be terrified. Like, what are we going to do to generate this buyer side revenue? Because they've just been working on the assumption, right? They model it out. Like we're going to make on average, right? What's the average commission, Larry? 5% generally?
5.5.
Yeah, about 5.5.
So 5.5.
Nationwide.
Like we know we have access to roughly 2 3/4, 2.68 or whatever it is. Like we're going to book that, pay these people 15 hours an hour, have them do this, and this, and keep the spread at the corporate level. But if you can't rely on that 2.78, like how are you going to get access to that money? Because you got all these people on hourly that you got to keep paying.
Yeah, I think with Redfin, I would say that they've got some advantages and disadvantages here. And Dylan, I think you've identified the disadvantage, which is that source of revenue is going to come into question. Now they do rebate, like Larry described,
right.
So that they may have to they may have to re-examine that. But I think the ultimate problem that Redfin has is it's still not profitable. So what it's doing right now is not good enough, right?
Right.
What they think, they have a very Silicon Valley startup mentality, which is that we're going to become so ubiquitous, we're going to corner the market, and then the market will be ours. And in order to do so, we are going to lose money and lose money and lose money until we have that market cornered, and we can basically buy up our competition. It's what Uber and Lyft are in
Market share.
Yeah,
a
but
fight to
Uber's
that
really
time.
the only success story in that space, right? With that sort of model.
So that's the problem. The not so small problem. Now here's where I think they have an advantage. I do see going forward more of a splitting up of the responsibilities kind of thing. What they've got going for them is that they've got a whole bunch of people who can go and do stuff, and it's not just the lead agent that has to carry that burden. Now, again, it's not been profitable, so they're going to have to figure out how that is going to be profitable, unless they simply only care about cornering the market and they go, look, we'll just continue to lose money and get more VC until we do that. I don't see that happening, by the way. I mean, who knows? I have no crystal ball. If you think I'm wrong, go buy Redfin stock. I'm
Right.
a mutual fund guy because I'm not smart enough to figure out how to buy stocks right without losing money. But they've got some pluses. They've got some minuses.
I'd get in on X if I were you. Get in on the get in at the bottom on X.
Larry,
now.
why do you hate me? Why do you
No.
hate me? Listen, I'm not hitching my wagon to the Elon Musk steam train. I think the Elon Musk steam train is running out of steam at the moment.
He is the
Either going to run out of
smartest man
steam
in
or
the
crash
room.
into a wall. It's going to be one or the other.
I don't know what's going on.
That's either way.
That Cybertruck is just something, man. That is gonna go down as one of the biggest failures in the history of business.
What is he thinking? I mean,
it's hideous. It doesn't work. It doesn't function for the purpose intended. It's incredibly expensive. You're better off going and buying a F-150 Lightning or a Rivian. I would, if I had the money to buy a Cybertruck, unless I'm just an Elon Musk fanboy or I just want to be different, I'm going to buy a Rivian because those trucks are really cool and they're really good.
Yeah, the Rivians seem to have it figured out. The other thing is that's a whole nother conversation, but I will float
it's built
this.
in Illinois.
I think that Toyota has it right on electric cars, and look, we have to have hybrids that share gasoline and electric power over time, and that a purely electric car has limits that are not going to get borne out in the market in the long run, which ultimately Tesla's whole thing is built on. And if Rivian is effective at taking away the top end of that, right, with a much better product at that top end price point where all the margin is, they won't be able to turn around. Tesla won't be able to make money selling Model 3s at $38,000. Like, it's just not.
Well, the first guy in isn't always the winner, right? And the other thing is, people think Elon Musk invented Tesla. He bought Tesla from two guys that invented Tesla.
Larry, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
And most people don't know that. And you are 100% spot on. And those guys, they finally just got sick of Elon. They're like, yeah, we got to get out of here. This is just ridiculous.
But he does have the largest satellite network in the world. I think he has like 4,500 satellites. So he's.
Have you ever seen?
He's
have you ever been out in the sticks and looked up and seen the Starlinks? Have you ever seen that?
No.
Yeah, go if you go out on a clear night and you're somewhere where there's not a lot of light pollution, look up. My wife and I have seen it. It is remarkable. You've never seen such a thing. It looks like a bunch of UFOs because it's just like in a line, just these little lights in the sky. Yeah. It's wild.
I don't like someone with that much power.
So Larry, we've covered Tesla, Rivian, the Bronco. What else you got for car talk today?
Well, I was, you guys don't know this about me, but back in the day when I had hair similar to Patrick's and I could do all kinds of stuff with my hair, and Dylan, you can relate to that. I was a drummer in a band, and where else would I be a drummer?
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, I was a drummer, I'm sorry, I had a drummer in this band I was actually the harmonica player and singer. It was a blues band, and
Nice.
why are you laughing?
I said nice. I said nice.
So this guy was so weird because so he had twins. What do you think he named his twins?
Oh, I don't.
No,
I
seriously.
always hate this. I always
Anna
hate this
1,
when
Anna
people-
2. It's just weird.
When people do that to their kids.
That's terrible.
I'm sorry. The dad jokes. That's where I'm at right
I thought
now.
you were done with the jokes, Larry. I swear you said you were done like
it's
20
a
minutes
joke.
ago.
I have more, but I'm not going to do it. Hey, listen, before we wrap it up, I just want you guys to let everyone know how they get in touch with you. And Patrick, let's start with you. How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so if you want to get a far more concise version of, my long-winded explanation on appellate bonds and how NAR is going to get back to no corner real soon on these lawsuits, follow me on Instagram at Loftus_law. Loftus is spelled the way it is on the screen there. If you want to find me on TikTok, which is where all the fun is, with Larry and all the rest of the people in my comment section, find me on TikTok at Loftus Law.
Yeah, but tell them about your other thing too. Let me help you fly, because that's important.
So on TikTok, I talk all about the art of finding cheap plane tickets, and I do other stuff on travel, like stuff on your passport, stuff on what else have I done? You want the best piece of advice I can give anyone, as far as if you're trying to get back into the country after flying international, is you're gonna download. Okay, if you've ever been in one of those 2-hour lines at customs and you just want to you just want to die because you thought when you landed you're like, I'm just about there, and you had another 2 hours. Download that's all. Mobile passport control. Okay, so when you get into customs, and it's been a while since I've been through customs because we had like a global pandemic and stuff, but they put you in this line where they've got these computer kiosks where you basically electronically fill out that form that they still give you on the plane for some reason. This app lets you fill that form out on your phone. So as soon as you land and you have signal, do it. Okay. As you're walking through the hallway to get to customs, have your phone up and show that you completed the form. The people who are, doing the traffic control at customs are going to send you into the mobile passport control line. Okay, that line will have about 3 people in it.
That's awesome.
Get through in less than 10 minutes.
I love it.
I don't know why more people don't know about this. I mean, I did the TikTok.
Because they're not listening to you.
But there's literally, next time you're at O'Hare, probably Midway too. It's been a long time since I've been at Midway. Next time you're at O'Hare, you will see, now that you've seen this, you'll notice that they have like stand-up cards. They've got advertisements all over the airport for this app, and people, I saw that and I go, well, I might as well download it. And then this happened. I was just like,
so mobile passport
control. It's it looks just like this.
Download that app, guys. Mobile passport control.
Download that app. Next time you're trying to get through customs, you'll send me a bouquet of flowers, or like a Starbucks gift card, or a nice bottle of booze, because you'll be so happy with me.
Awesome. So remember, guys, get in touch with Patrick. He could help you with so many things. It's insane. We've just touched on a few. All right, Dylan, people need help with their mortgages. They need a second opinion. They are looking for grant programs. They're first-time home buyers, whatever. How do they get in touch with you?
Larry, I'm going to do the same thing Patrick did. Follow me on Instagram at Dylan, DYLAN_Kramer.
Awesome. Dylan, so we didn't get into what we wanted to talk about today.
We'll do it Wednesday.
We're going to do it Wednesday because I really want to dive deep into that. And the fact that there are a ton of grant programs out there for first-time home buyers that people really just don't take advantage of.
Absolutely.
So we'll get into that on Wednesday. All right, you guys. Thank you. Appreciate you guys coming on, and have an awesome weekend. And call me if I can help you. And you know I will do the same.
Thanks, Larry, and go Hawks.
Go Hawks. I'll see you guys.
At least you're not a Michigan guy. You know, it could be worse.
Well, there is look. The cliche goes, my money and my daughter go to Iowa. So there we go.
There you go.
It is a good school. It's a good school. Fun place to go to school too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys.
All right, you guys. See you later.
Yep.
Adios.
Yep. All right, everybody. We are going to wrap this up, and I just want to number one, thank everybody for joining us. Thank Patrick. Thank Dylan for joining us. We had a lot of good conversation today. Make sure to join us on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Me and Dylan are going to talk about a lot of the grants that are out there for first-time home buyers that nobody seems to either know about or is taking advantage of. So make sure that you catch us on Wednesday at 11 a.m. And until then, have an amazing weekend. Remember, if you want to save 50% on your title insurance costs, you're selling your home, you have to provide free and clear title. If you want to save 50% on your title insurance costs, which on even a $200,000 condo is almost $1,000, give me a call, 630-921-0611, or just text title to 630-921-0611. All right, you guys have an awesome weekend. And like Dylan said, go Hawks. I have nothing to do with Iowa, but go Hawks because it's Dylan. All right, you guys. Peace. Love you guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for joining us on Real Estate Radio with your host, Larry Shakman, the real estate therapist and top producing broker. Now, go to trustedagentUSA.com and save thousands when you sell, buy, or invest. Illinois license number 475-145-795. Tune in next week for the ultimate real estate radio experience. Thanks for joining us on Real Estate Radio with your host, Larry Shakman, the real estate therapist and top producing broker. Now, go to trustedagentUSA.com and save thousands when you sell, buy, or invest. Illinois license number 475-145-795. Tune in next week for the ultimate real estate radio experience.